friends, and welcome to the video. So let me ask you a question. Who is watching this video? Now, there's a few answers to that. The first one, if you haven't studied non-duality before, is it's me. It's this person sitting here in front of my monitor, phone, TV. It's me that's watching the video. The second one, if you've studied Advaita Vedanta or you're into non-duality, is probably it's the true self that's watching the video. Maybe it's the Atman or it's Brahman who's watching the video. Now, both of those answers, kind of linguistic answers that aren't just the natural response, both of those that arising in thought, those thoughts are what's called the I maker, the ahamkara. And somebody asked me to make a video about the ahamkara, so this is what I'm doing. It has different functions. It's translated as the ego, but we have so many different uses of the ego. Even in non-duality, sometimes people talk about the ego as being the separate self itself, the image that's created. Sometimes we talk in, like the ego is the thing that you go to the gym, you have to leave your ego at the door. This thing that makes you, arrogant and the thing that you can inflate. But with Advaita Vedanta, it actually can be very accurate with its terminology. And the I maker is the function of the mind that creates this feeling of a separate self. It names things, it claims things, it says that the separate self is doing things, it says the separate self owns things, it creates I, me, and mine. And when we talk about transcending the ego, it's because you have taken yourself for what you are not. You're thinking you're this human, and that's vulnerable and is I don't know how successful or how much of a failure this human is, but it all depends on society, and there are certain dreams it used to have that it could never achieve, or there's certain things that are coming in the future that are very threatening. All of this is based around the ego, the separate self, and this separate self, this is all pointed at by certain thoughts that arise. So the I maker, the ahamkara, is not really something. It's not. I think some people think the ego is the thing that makes the decisions for me, but the ego is the thing that says you made decisions. It's the thing that says the separate self took the decision or made the decision. It's not actually this invisible box in which the decisions are made. It's not the separate real thing there that you need to get rid of or destroy. It's just there's all these thoughts that arise, and we're categorizing them in certain ways: memory thoughts, intellect thoughts, and this other function, which is the I-making, these thoughts that arise. So it's not really a thing there. It's not an enemy either. Your mind works in a certain way. You don't really want to lose your memory, do you? And you don't want to lose the claim that you're doing things. You just need to see that all of that is arising in awareness, and you're the thing that in which it arises. You're free of that. You are the cinema screen on which the movie's playing. You can, and even you can participate in the world. You can get into it when you realize the truth, like the actor. You're an actor, so you can really get into the role. So it can be used. It's not something terrible. But anyway, we're going to go into these the functions of the ego, because somebody asked me to make a video about the ego, so that's why I'm doing this. So the first one is doership. So you can feel this yourself. So if you just do something now, I don't know, put your hand somewhere or pick something up. Now, when you pick that thing up, that feeling that it's me, I did it, that is the eye maker. That thought that comes is the eye maker. What's it pointing at? Well, it's just saying, it's something that says that this person, separate self, did that. The second one is ownership. So, you own your body, we assume, or do we? I don't know. Is it owned by the universe? Does it have a label on it's yours? Doesn't really matter. We won't go into that. But you own your car and your house, and you're trying to get more things, and you're trying not to lose things, or you're trying to use what you own in a good way, in a responsible manner. But you can just look at it simply with your hand. So this is your hand, it's yours. You look at some other people's hands, maybe a group over there called Peter, Paul, and Mary, and you look at their hands. Now, this is not just the eye maker that's doing this. You've got some aspect of the memory, some labeling of the mind that's saying that belongs to Peter, that belongs to Paul, and this one belongs to me. That comes from memory and certain arisings, some thoughts. And then, but it's the one that says that this belongs to me. This is the one that is somehow more important. It creates this separation between me and other. This puts you on a higher level of importance. Of course, it's not as simple as that. What we consider to be our own grows and shrinks. If you own a house, if you own a car, somebody scratches your car, it's like they've hurt you. Your family members, some people, even their nation or their football team is something that is parts of them. So the ego is not really just making this division, I and other, around the body. It's much more subtle than that if you observe how this works. The next one is enjoyership. So it's not really just enjoying, it's suffering too. But it's you that enjoys the fruits of your labor that you didn't actually do, and the one that suffers. So I'm not saying that suffering will go away, or joy from objects will go away. You'll still mistake the joy in objects as coming from them rather than yourself, until you start realizing that all joy comes from the self, and objects only create a shadow joy, is called, because you create a desire for them, and when the desire is satisfied, then your natural joy is there. Just shines forth because there's none of this desire blocking it anymore. And equally, horrible things, they also block your natural joy that comes from the true self. That's the idea. Sat, Chit, Ananda, existence, consciousness, and bliss. So it all really comes from you. But we create this idea that other things give us joy, and then it's the separate self that enjoys those things. It's the separate self that suffers. It's me that's suffering. It's me that has to try to get enjoyment or run away from suffering. It's creating all this narrative that brings us suffering. The next one is the knower. So now we talk about Brahman as being consciousness, the thing that knows. A nice way to look at it, there's an Upanishad that talks about the true self is beyond the known and the unknown. And that's because it's the knower. It's the thing that knows. Everything, all that arises, known and unknown, is seen by the true knower. But it's not the same, the ego that says I know this, I don't know that. It builds this identity, this separate self. And this kind of knowledge, this kind of knowing, it comes and goes. It's temporary. It can be affected by if you're tired or other things like that, distracted. The knowing of the true self is just there, unchanging. Everything arises in it. It's known, all things known by me and you and everything. It's all just known by the Brahman, and we shouldn't turn it into a kind of a global consciousness, because even that's turning it into an object. But But the knower, yes. So another aspect of the eye maker is to create this thing that knows or doesn't know, where this knowing fluctuates. The other one is the decider. And you can do a little experiment here where you decide something. What should I wear tomorrow? Red or green? When you decide that, that thought, I've picked that, or that is also the eye maker. That thought that just arose, we're labeling that as the eye maker. That's another function of the eye maker. It creates this whole image of that you've got power, you can do things well, or maybe you try to do them and then you fail, and so it builds this narrative of suffering. The other one is identity. So I am a teacher, I'm an English teacher. I am, all the things, English, I'm this, I'm that. Building this separate self, this is also the I maker. These thoughts that arise are pointing to that thing, making this kind of hard shell around something that's not really there. These are just thoughts pointing towards something and creating some sort of image there that you think is real and needs to be protected. The next one is boundary making, and we spoke about this. This is part of the whole thing I was speaking about before. It's not only about you, the body, and the mind, but creating self and other. As much as creating the self, the separate self creates the self, there's also saying what's not yourself, it also has the same effect. So this boundary that we create that actually does fluctuate, as I said before, maybe it's your football team, maybe it's your family, your car, your possessions. This boundary between what's me, what's mine, and what's other. And again, this self and not self is what creates the suffering. The duality of this is what leads to suffering. The next one is the narrator. So here we play out, we build all this story behind us in time that may actually change if we realize stuff now that we didn't know about the past. This narrative, what we were like as a kid growing up, the things that have brought us to here now, who we are now based on the past, the things that I've done, the things that the separate self has done, really colouring, filling in all the details, colouring in this image, making it really, really solid. And also the future, the things that you want to achieve, these ideas that you draw from society, these roles that you've heard of from society, the scripts that this is going to happen to me or this is not going to happen to me, I want this to happen. All of this that creates expectation, and along with all the other aspects of the ego that we've spoken about, like doership and the fact you're the decider, it creates this big, very fragile thing that's going on, and this house of cards that can fall down any moment. We have this baseline of anxiety because of this fact that we have created this separate self. Now, we also have, if you're into non-duality, or spirituality, you have very subtle things that the ego tells you. And I shouldn't have said it like that. The ego tells you things. There are thoughts that say things. They're not telling anybody anything. There's no you to be told. There's a thought that says, I have an ego. There's a thought that says, I have no ego. And pointing to I there, that thing that's not actually there, the eye of the hurricane. You can say, I am spiritual, I am this, I am that, I am the person who's meditating on a progress to being enlightened, building in this narrative. I am I am the Atman. the question I asked at the beginning of the video, who is watching the video? What is watching the video? It's what's here. There is existence here. This exists, and this is conscious. As I said in the last video, if it didn't exist, there would be no consciousness of it. If it, or there would be no consciousness. I shouldn't say of it, because I'm creating duality. If there was no consciousness, there would be no existence. It's the same thing, but that is pre-linguistic. That's pre-thought. That's the thing that's before the thought. This reaction, the correct reaction, I shouldn't really say correct, but I am watching the video, me here, that's wrong. The Atman, the consciousness, it's God, is watching the video, that's wrong. The real response is whatever is there before you think. You don't need to try to find an answer to that thought, to that question, who is watching the video. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.